Wealthy grandmother exposed. How a touching act by her grandson revealed an amazing truth. Ethan had heard the whispers around town. They called his grandmother Esther a wealthy snob, someone who had moved away from family once success graced her doorstep. Yet, as he rummaged through old family photos one rainy afternoon, he felt a pang of guilt when he stumbled on an image of her vibrant smile surrounded by the opulence of her mansion. His heart ached at the thought of loneliness, knowing that beneath the glimmering exterior lay a woman cloaked in silence and isolation. "She's still family," he murmured, determination stirring in his chest. It was time to change the narrative. Balancing school, part-time jobs, and chores had made Ethan a master of juggling life's demands. But supporting his single mother went beyond mowing lawns or stocking shelves at the local grocery store. He wanted to lift the weight off her shoulders, make life a little easier. His friends aimed for sports stardom, but his goal was to reunite his family. Could one gesture be the spark that reignited lost connections? Ethan's first visit to Esther's mansion felt surreal. The tall, oak doors creaked as he entered, revealing a vast living room echoing with memories long gone. He found her, gazing out a large window, her fingers tracing the outlines of an antique vase. It felt heavy, a grand life weighed down by a heavy heart. "I've missed you, Grandma," Ethan whispered, unsure if he believed it himself. Her eyes shimmered like the crystal chandelier above, filled with unshed tears. As they conversed, Ethan discovered layers of regret within her words. "The laughter is gone, just silence now," she admitted, a single tear escaping. With each story she shared, it felt like peeling back a layer of sadness buried deep within family ties. Ethan listened, his heart swelling for the woman who was more than her wealth, a woman yearning for connection just like him. "I have an idea," Ethan said, his voice trembling with eagerness and fear. "Let us host a neighborhood potluck. Invite everyone. Let us show them you're more than a snob." Her smile blossomed, igniting hope. They spent evenings planning, filled with excitement and nervous jitters over who might show up, but skepticism marred their vision. The town was reluctant, fueled by gossip and prejudice. "They won tea come," she warned, but Ethan refused to back down. On the day of the potluck, uncertainty clouded the air. Neighbors hesitated at the mansion's gates, casting side-eye glances, whispering about rich folks and wasting time. Ethan's stomach twisted, doubts gnawing at him, but he pressed on. As tension rose, the potluck started. Laughter mixed with bitterness. Amid the chaos, hurtful words shot like arrows until one woman stepped forward, her voice trembling. "We're all just trying to get by." A ripple of stories floated through the room, hearts melding, walls crumbling in a way that Ethan never anticipated. In that moment, he learned that wealth doesn't define kindness, vulnerability does. Yet, as the evening flowed, a shocking truth tied to Esther's past emerged, leaving the room in a stunned silence. Ethan glanced at his grandmother, who looked both relieved and scared. He sensed the weight of the moment. Was an old family wound about to reopen? Questions filled the air, leaving an anxious flutter in his chest as he battled the uncertainty of it all. What would happen next? Would love truly bridge the divides that had haunted them for years? The room buzzed with an electric tension. Ethan's gaze darted around the gathering, where faces transformed from frowns to expressions of contemplation. The air was thick with anticipation, as if everyone held their breath, waiting for Esther to break the heavy silence. Esther finally took a deep breath. "There's something I've hidden for too long," she began, her voice steadier than he expected, yet laced with vulnerability. "After your grandfather and I lost everything. I thought the only way to rebuild was to have wealth. But I lost my way." Her confession broke the final barriers as everyone leaned in, captivated. "What happened?" someone whispered from the back. It was Lydia, the town's unofficial historian and an old classmate of Ethan's mother. Her curiosity seemed to ignite the others' interest, and suddenly questions bloomed like wildflowers after a spring rain. Esther's voice trembled, and she focused her gaze on a faded family photograph resting on the mantelpiece. "I was young and naive. Success came quickly, but I mistook it for happiness. I distanced myself from family, thinking if I excelled alone, would earn their admiration. As she spoke, Ethan felt a mix of anger and sorrow. His grandmother had become a caricature of success. The mansion, with its lavish gardens and sprawling rooms, had become a prison for her. I was chasing validation. I thought the emptiness would fade, she continued. But wealth isn't fulfillment. A wave of murmurs rippled through the crowd, an echo of shared recognition of their own struggles. Then came the moment that shattered the room. There was a time when I could have fought harder for my family, Esther said, her voice breaking. I let fear guide my decisions instead of love. The weight of her words hung heavily. Ethan could see the emotion twist in the eyes of the guests. They were no longer mere neighbors, they were witnesses to a profound moment of honesty. Suddenly, he felt a spark of hope igniting within him. We all have healing to do, he proclaimed, surprising even himself. This isn't just about you, Grandma. We are all carrying baggage. Why not share it together? Let us start a community support group. Esther's eyes widened, and it was as if light returned to her features. What a beautiful idea, she whispered, allowing the tiniest smile to break through. Neighbors exchanged glances, imagining a shared space where hearts could pour out their experiences. This was no longer just about Esther's loneliness, it was about everyone's story of survival and connection. But as voices rise in agreement, Ethan's pulse quickened at the thought of the unresolved issues that lay deeper in his family's past. What other secrets had been buried beneath the surface? Just as laughter echoed through the room once more, a shadow slipped in at the edge of his vision. The mansion's doors creaked open, revealing an unexpected visitor, someone from Esther's past who could either heal old wounds or rip them wider open. Ethan's heart raced. Who could it be? What implications did this have for their newfound connection? The delicate string of hope began to quiver in his chest, teetering on the brink of possibility. The tall figure stepped into the warmth of the room, and the atmosphere shifted instantly. Faces turned, eyes widened. There was a mixture of curiosity and apprehension swirling in the crowd. There, silhouetted in the doorway, stood a woman with weathered skin and silver-streaked hair. It was June, Esther's estranged sister, the woman whose absence had echoed in their family for decades. Ethan's heart stuttered. June's presence sent a ripple through the gathering. This was an uninvited gust of wind that disrupted their newfound calm. Ethan caught a glimpse of Esther's reaction. Her expression shifted from surprise to an unsettling mixture of joy and dread. June, Esther breathed, her voice barely audible. Surprise, June replied, her voice thick with years unspoken. I heard you were having a gathering. Ethan watched as the tension morphed into something tangible. Neighbors whispered, eyes darting back and forth between the two women, waiting for the awaited reconciliation or perhaps, the unavoidable confrontation. Ethan felt a wave of urgency. This wasn't just about his grandmother anymore, it was about family, about the decisions that had shaped them all. He stepped forward, each move bearing the weight of the moments they had all just discovered. Are you here to talk? He asked, feeling the delicate balance of hope and unease shift in the air. June swallowed hard and stepped further inside. I didn't mean to stir things up, she said, her eyes briefly scanning the crowd, her gaze finally landing back on Esther. But it seems I have some things to say, too. Esther's breath hitched, the hurt evident in her eyes. Where have you been all these years? Trying to manage my own mess, just like you, June replied, her voice trembling. A pause stretched, filled with everyone's breath, as if they were collectively holding a secret. Ethan felt his stomach knot. This was history unfolding, and they were all witnesses. What happened between you two? He pressed. He couldn't hold back anymore. All of us are sorting our own things out. This might be the right moment to discuss it all. June opened her mouth, hesitated, then closed it again. Ethan could see her wrestling with memories that had long been pushed aside. I was in the same race for success as you, Esther, she confessed finally. But I lost my family along the way. I thought that distance would heal things. Esther's eyes glistened with unshed tears. Distance only made everything worse. It was a quiet admission that hung in the air, and for a brief moment, Ethan felt the possibility of understanding flicker between them. The neighbors exchanged glances, captivated by the rawness of the encounter. They weren't just witnessing a reunion, they were watching healing take root. June took a step closer to Esther, apprehensive yet hopeful. Maybe we could find a way back. I can help you, Esther. We can help each other. Ethan wanted to cheer, this was the moment they had desperately needed. But doubt crept in. Would they push through the pain of the past? Would they allow their lives to interweave again, or would the shadows of history pull them apart for good? As the room seemed to breathe together, Ethan looked at each face surrounding him: curiosity, hope, fear. He realized their stories were fragile yet resilient. What could bloom from this eruption of the past? Just then, as June reached for Esther's hands, the room went still. The air crackled once more. Was it acceptance hanging in the balance? Or was this just the beginning of another storm? Outside, a thunderous clap shattered the stillness. Ethan felt it deep in his bones. The storm was brewing, not just in the skies, but in the hearts of everyone gathered. What would the downpour reveal? Will we face this storm together? He whispered, breaking the tense silence that felt electric with uncertainty. The answer hung heavy, waiting, looming. Ethan's heart raced as he saw June's hand inch closer to Esther's. The moment hung with a fragile tension that felt almost unbearable. Then, suddenly, June withdrew her arm, breaking the spell. Maybe it's too soon. I need to explain first. Esther's eyes searched her sister's face, a whirlwind of emotions swirling. You don't owe me explanations, June. Not anymore, she said, her voice trembling but firm. A ripple of exasperation swept through the crowd. No, you must hear me out. June took a deep breath and steadied herself. I chose my path, and in doing so, I left you behind. She looked at the ground as if the weight of her words pulled her down. I believed we could mend the cracks in the future. But time, it just slipped away. Ethan felt a lump in his throat. Her honesty pierced through the air like a dart. Strangers in the room were now connected, as if they all felt June's regret in their own lives. He glanced around as neighbors exchanged glances, some nodding, others shaking their heads in disbelief. Esther shook her head slowly. I spent years pretending everything was fine without you. I thought your absence meant you didn't care. But now her voice broke, eyes glistening. Now I see that losing you was my own way of hiding from the hurt. Gasps echoed softly around the room, a collective realization settling in. The distance brought them more suffering than they could have imagined. It was a cycle repeating itself. June's expression softened. I can't take back the years. But I want to reconnect. I want to know you and to be known by you. I want to help heal this brokenness. She took a cautious step forward again, opening her arms slightly as if inviting Esther into them. The atmosphere in the room shifted, a stirring of hope breaking through the storm of past wounds. Can we really do that? Esther whispered, vulnerability cracking her voice. After everything we've been through? Can we really heal this? Before June could answer, the overhead lights flickered with a sudden intensity, momentarily distracting everyone. The storm outside intensified, a ferocious wind rattling the windows. The room felt like it was trapped between light and dark, hope and despair. Ethan's gaze darted back to Esther, then June. Maybe it's a sign, he said, trying to hold on to the moment. A chance to start fresh despite the chaos. Esther took a deep breath, her chest rising and falling, filled with conflicting emotions. It's hard, June. I've built walls, and I don't know how to accept this. June nodded, tears glistening in her eyes. Nobody said it would be easy. But if we lean on each other, maybe we can carve out a new path. one step at a time. Around the room, faces softened in understanding, neighbors glancing at each other as they sensed the delicate balance of tension and hope. Ethan stood silently amidst the tangled emotions, feeling the power of change throbbing within him. Just then, a loud crash sounded outside, echoing through the walls as if underscoring their turmoil. It sent a jolt through Ethan, and he instinctively stepped forward. "This is our storm to weather. Let us face it together." As a new silence filled the room, the weight of their decisions loomed over them. Would they have the courage to embrace the change? Would Esther reach back out to June? In this moment, standing between them, Ethan felt a flicker of something more profound than fear, something like belonging. Could they truly begin anew, or were they forever bound by the chains of the past? As he held his breath, waiting for the next response, everyone else stood on the precipice, hearts beating as one. What would their decision unleash in the unfolding storm as fury clashed with their fragile hope? The room pulsed with tension, the heavy air charged with unspoken words and fading hopes. June's hands trembled slightly at her sides as she hesitated, caught between regret and resolve. Esther's gaze flickered, alternating between searching June's eyes and peering towards the storm brewing outside, thunder rumbling like a far-off warning. "Let us not pretend anymore," Esther said finally, her voice quiet but resolute. "We've jumped through so many hoops of hurt and anger. I need to know if you mean it. If you're really willing to try." June nodded, her tears glistening under the flickering lights. "I've never stopped wanting to know you, to be part of your life. It haunted me, knowing I walked away to pursue a dream without considering the impact on you." An audible gasp escaped from a member of the audience. Ethan's heart raced. He could see the power of vulnerability hanging palpably in the air. It was a lifeline, yet it felt precarious, teetering on the edge of disaster. "Dreams have their price sometimes," Esther said, half laughing, half crying. "You chased yours. And I just stood by, waiting for you to realize I was still here, lost in my own world of silence." Ethan sensed the warmth between them beginning to thaw the ice that had encased both sisters. "You know," he ventured, "it's never too late to strum a new chord. Maybe even play a duet?" He flashed a gentle smile, desperate for a flicker of light to break through the darkness. His heart ached for them, hoping to spark a moment that could lead to change. Esther turned to him, eyes wide, searching for assurance. "Do you really think we could rebuild? Could we navigate this mess together?" June stepped closer again, emboldened by Esther's openness. "I believe we can. We have to start somewhere. And I'd rather it be here than let the storm drown us out." Another crash of thunder rattled the windows as if echoing their precarious hope, but no one flinched this time. A few murmurs from the crowd encouraged her, propelling her forward, giving voice to the unvoiced yearnings that had waited far too long. "Together," Esther echoed, her voice wavering, but strong. She reached out, tentative yet hopeful, and clasped June's hand, the warmth of a forgotten touch igniting beneath their fingers. Tears streamed silently down their cheeks, their own storm breaking. The audience around them began to soften as well. Observers held onto each other, seeking something they longed to heal. "We've all been lost," a neighbor whispered. "We've all faced our storms." The urgency in their collective heartbeat rose, and the room began to fill with murmurs of empathy and support. The winds outside howled, but the air inside was charged now, much like the feeling of a freshly struck match in a darkened room. Esther, emboldened by June's courage, turned to Ethan. "What about you, Ethan? Are you willing to brave this chaos with us?" Ethan felt the weight of their need press against him, a hopeful plea tangled with a question he'd yet to answer for himself. I will try," he said, face alight with determination. "To help you both navigate through this. We'll find a way." Just then, the lights flickered violently, and a shadow passed through the crowded room, making Ethan's heart race once again. Not everyone was comfortable witnessing this reconciliation. Someone's discomfort loomed like an impending storm on the horizon. Esther and June's moment of connection felt tethered now to something deeper, something more threatening. Who would resist their healing? And at what cost? With renewed determination, the trio stood shoulder to shoulder, facing the crowd. They knew they'd either weather the storm together or risk being swept away, lost and alone once again. What's next? A voice came from the back, breaking the fragile atmosphere. Ethan felt the gravity of their openness shift, and the answer loomed ahead like thunder in the darkened sky. How would they confront those who resisted their healing? What had they truly begun to unravel? Ethan's heart pounded in his chest, a mix of dread and determination swirling within him. The question hung in the air, heavy like the storm outside. He felt the eyes of the crowd upon them, searching for answers that he wasn't sure they had. Could they handle the chaos that had taken root in this fractured family? June tightened her grip on Esther's hand, as if drawing strength from that simple connection. "We can't control how others feel about us," she said, her voice steady despite the turmoil swirling inside her. "What matters is that we are here, trying to heal, trying to be better." Esther nodded slowly, a glimmer of hope sparking in her eyes. "Maybe that's the first step. Acknowledging the pain we've caused each other, and those we've hurt along the way." The crowd murmured in agreement, their faces a mixture of understanding and skepticism. Ethan could feel the collective breath of the room, a pause before an inevitable release. "Let us start with the truth," Esther continued, taking a small step forward, her voice gaining strength. "The truth about our family and what this silence has stored away. We owe it to ourselves to unearth whatever it is that's buried beneath the weight of regret." Ethan felt chills crawl down his spine. The truth was a double-edged sword, but perhaps it was also the key to their shackled hearts. He stepped forward, his instincts igniting with newfound resolve. "You're right, Esther. But we need to be careful. There are still wounds that haven't healed, even among our circle." From the back, a woman spoke up, her voice trembling. "Wounds that some of us didn't even know existed," she said, casting a glance toward an older man sitting hunched over in the corner. The recognition in his gaze darkened the corners of the room. Was this family drama edging toward something more? Ethan turned, intent on calming the brewing storm. "Each of us has a story. Let us not rush into a confrontation that could set us back instead of moving forward. Maybe we should share our truths one at a time." The crowd murmured, uncertain yet intrigued. June glanced at Ethan, an unspoken gratitude passing between them. Together, they could navigate whatever was next. Esther took a deep breath. "I will start then. When June left, I felt abandoned and broken. I tried to piece together a life without her, but part of me always knew she would return. What I didn't realize was how I'd buried my anger towards her, and how it alienated me from the people I loved." As she spoke, Ethan noticed the crowd's shift, their focus sharpened. This was what they needed, a release of the pent-up emotions. A delicate balance, held in shared pain. "That's courage, Esther," someone called from the back, an older woman whose eyes glimmered with unshed tears. "You're braver than most of us just by standing here." Encouraged, more voices broke through the crowd, revealing stories of hurt, betrayal, and fear, echoing through the hall like a collective confession. Each voice added to the healing, but Ethan couldn't shake the uneasiness that lingered like the scent of rain before a storm. Just when the atmosphere seemed to brighten, a sharp gasp pierced through the camaraderie. Eyes turned to the haggard figure that had been silently watching from the sidelines, an older man who now stood, trembling and pale. "You think you can fix this?" he croaked, his voice ragged. "You don't know the half of what your choices have done to our family." The room fell silent, tension curling in the air once more. No one saw this coming. Ethan's heart dropped. What did he know? What truth did this man bring that could change everything again? "Who are you?" someone shouted, disbelief rippling through the crowd. Now they were all hanging on the precipice of new revelations. It felt like the storm outside had found its way into the room, turning the conversation darker just when it had appeared to light up. With the truth ready to be unleashed, would they be ready for the consequences? What other shadows lay waiting to be revealed? Ethan could only hope they would manage to weather this next storm together. The silence stretched, thick as the storm clouds rumbling outside. Ethan's heart raced as he locked eyes with the older man, whose weariness bespoke a lifetime of hidden struggles. The vulnerability sparking in the air felt almost electric, like the moment before a lightning strike. "Who am I?" the man echoed, anguish swirling in his voice. "I'm the one who's watched this family crumble from the inside out. I'm your grandfather." He pointed an unsteady finger at Esther, and the room held its breath. Esther's face went pale. "Grandfather?" Her voice was barely a whisper, trembling under the weight of disbelief. "Yes," he shouted, anger and sorrow blending in a storm of emotions. "The man whose heart you've broken more times than I can count. You think sharing pain will heal this family, but you have no idea what you've done to each other and to me." The crowd erupted into murmurs once again, eyes darting from the grandfather to Esther, then to Ethan, as if searching for some new understanding amidst the chaos. People shifted uncomfortably, the tension escalating palpably. Ethan felt the familiar pang of responsibility weighing heavily on him. "Wait," he called out, raising his hands to quiet the gathering storm. "Let us hear what he has to say. This is important." The grandfather's gaze bore into Ethan, a mix of gratitude and skepticism. "You young ones think you can fix everything with words. But words, they don't change the past." June stepped forward, her eyes steady and filled with compassion. "We know the past can't be undone. But it can be understood. Just like Esther shared her feelings, maybe you can share yours too." He hesitated, eyes darting toward Esther's guilty face. "Fine," he relented, his voice softening. "You want to know the truth? I was there when you were born, Esther. I held you in my arms," and then his voice broke. "Your mother made choices that hurt us all." Esther nodded her hands, the warmth of the exchange battling against the revelation. "But I didn't know. All this time, I thought." "Yes, exactly," the grandfather interrupted, fire reigniting in his words. "You thought. You didn't ask, didn't dig, and now look where we are standing in the remnants of a family too scared to face what might be revealed." The crowd turned restless again, emotions in full swing. Several voiced their anger. "You can't just blame her for everything." But others nodded, digging deeper into their own fears. A woman in the back whispered to the person next to her, "This is why I never wanted us to meet." Ethan felt the cycle of blame spinning deeper. He had to intervene again. What if we listened to the pain without judgment? What if we allowed this truth to flow freely like rain washing away the dirt? "Would you consider walking us through your share of the story?" he asked the grandfather gently. The grandfather's eyes glistened with unshed tears as he stood taller, visibly wrestling with the choice before him. "What if I told you that these secrets, the hurt, the absence, they weren't just mine to carry? They were yours too." The room was still, a collective inhale while everyone took in the weight of his words. Ethan felt a sense of urgency wrap around him. They were at a pivot point. "What did you mean?" Esther whispered, a quiver in her voice as she leaned forward, desperately seeking answers. The grandfather glanced around the room, searching for a soul courageous enough to hear him, to embrace the truth he had kept buried for so long. The storm outside rolled louder, as if urging him on. "I mean," he began, his voice shaky yet resolute, "that this family was never just a ticking clock of disappointment, we've all played a part in keeping it frozen." As Ethan stared at the grandfather, he felt a shift within. A moment of clarity. But with truth came the understanding that this could unravel everything they thought they knew and perhaps everything they had built. What awaited them just a heartbeat away? Would they sink or rise amidst the revelations? The grandfather took a breath, his chest rising and falling like the distant shadows of the evening storm. "I've spent too many years carrying this weight alone," he murmured. "Watching my family break apart while I did nothing, it haunts me." Esther's eyes filled with tears. But I never knew. I had no idea you felt this way. And that's the tragic core of it, he replied, his voice breaking. Your mother wanted to shield you from my pain. But instead, she created a chasm between us. Secrets only breed more secrets, and here we are, standing on the edge of it all. Ethan locked eyes with Esther. In that moment, he could see the flicker of new understanding ignite within her. Grandfather, I'm sorry, she said, her voice barely a whisper. I wish I could go back and ask the right questions. You can't change the past, but you can shape the future, he replied, the tremor in his voice replaced with a flicker of hope. A small light sparkled in the grandfather's weary gaze as he turned to the crowd. We all have our stories. We've all been hurt, but we've also hurt others. It's time to acknowledge that and begin to heal. The murmurs in the room shifted. There was a boy near the back, a cousin of Esther's, who spoke up. My dad never talks about this side of the family. He always keeps it to himself, but I want to know. Why can't we just share our truths? That's the spirit. June chimed in, her enthusiasm cutting through the heaviness. We don't have to fear the past. We can own our narratives together. The grandfather nodded, feeling the surge of support from the young voices gathering beside him. Let us break this cycle. Each of us has something to offer. And honestly, I need to know how we've all contributed to what we've lost. Ethan felt a wave of warmth envelop the room. There was something powerful about the shifting energy, a sense of unity starting to forge among them. He raised his voice gently but firmly, what does sharing our truths look like? We're all here to listen. The tension in the air felt less suffocating now, replaced with tentative excitement. The walls had indeed begun to crack, light seeping through. Esther took a step forward, eyes determined. My mother never explained why she pushed you away. I always thought it was my fault somehow. She never wanted me to know about this part of our family, and that hurt more than I can express. I don't want to live in shame anymore. The grandfather's heart twisted at her confession. I'm sorry. I didn't mean for you to feel that way. I meant to protect you. I thought I was. His words fell short, swallowed by a wave of emotion. Ethan's voice cut through the stillness again. What if we shared the weight together? What if we gathered our experiences, our secrets, and built something new from that honesty? The storm outside thundered in agreement, the ancient trees bending gently under its breath. The people were swaying now, the air buzzing with an idea new to them all. Suddenly, apathy turned to action as hands began to rise. I'll share too, said a voice from the back. Another cousin stepped forward, and then another, creating a chain reaction of vulnerability. But amidst the rising tide of shared stories, Ethan felt a tightening in his stomach. What if some truths were too heavy to bear? Please, everyone, he interrupted, motioning with urgency in his gaze. Let us tread carefully. Some truths can tear us apart, so we must promise to support each other through the process. Heads nodded gravely, and for the first time, he felt a pulse of hope. Yet in the back of his mind, a question lingered. Would they all be able to support one another, no matter how painful the truths might be? As the room began to fill with stories, Ethan felt fear and excitement mingling in his chest. They had embarked on a journey that would shape their destinies forever. What had they opened? And how deep would the wounds run? The first hesitant voices broke the silence like gentle ripples across a still pond. Each revelation stirred something deeper, a ripple that pulled on the threads of their familial bonds, weaving them closer together. A cousin shared their experience with addiction, another recounted how their own parents' absence felt like a raw wound that never healed. With each piece of honesty, the air grew thick with emotion. Esther stood a little taller, the uncertainty fading from her eyes. I think we all carry parts of each other's stories. It's like we've had different lives but share the same roots, she began. Her voice was steady now, knitting the collective pain into a single shared experience. When one of us falls, we all feel it, even if we pretend not to. Ethan watched as more hands shot up, voices quaking yet resolute. A distant cousin blurted out how a family secret had torn apart their parents. The energy shifted again, transforming their pain from an individual burden to a collective weight. They were releasing the emotions bottled up inside for far too long. This was not just a chance to speak, it was a moment to heal. The grandfather listened intently, his eyes glistening with unshed tears. Each confession seemed to wring out years of isolation, illuminating the shadows they cast away. He could see faces lighting up with understanding, nods of empathy rippling through the room. Then a silence fell, heavy and expectant. A voice, soft yet filled with conviction, cut through the charge of raw emotion. "I struggle to believe there's any hope for us," a distant voice challenged, barely audible but charged with doubt. The room turned in anticipation. Esther instinctively stepped forward, heart pounding. "I get it. It's scary. I've felt that dark cloud in my head too." She paused, allowing her vulnerability to blossom. "But isn't that why we're doing this? To confront it together? To uncover what we've hidden from ourselves?" The grandfather nodded, his heart swelling with pride for his granddaughter. "We can't erase the past, but we can paint over it, brightening it with our realities, our truths." A wave of emotion washed over the crowd. Heads nodded in agreement, murmurs of understanding rippling through like an aftershock. Esther placed her hand on her grandfather's arm, a gesture of solidarity. A cousin from the back stepped forward. 2 years ago, I lost my mother. I didn't know how to process that. Everyone just told me to move on, but I needed to grieve." The pain in his voice resonated, piercing through the facade of strength each had worn. Esther clasped her hands together, her breath catching. "We've all lost something, haven't we? A piece of ourselves, a connection. I believe it's not just about sharing what hurts, but reclaiming our right to feel together." Her words hung in the air, a thread woven into the fabric of their shared existence. The room felt warmer, not just from the storm outside. They were all cocooned in this moment of disclosure, histories intertwining like vines in the garden of their past. But even with the warmth building, a flicker of uncertainty lingered in Ethan's chest. He wondered how deep this journey would take them, and what unspoken shadows still awaited their turn to surface. As the evening sun waned, an unexpected thought gripped him with a gentle urgency. Were they truly ready to face what might lie beneath those carefully kept layers? Just as that thought settled, a loud knock echoed through the room, startling everyone. The door swung open, revealing an unexpected visitor, a woman whose presence demanded attention. The air transformed instantaneously, disbelief mingled with intrigue at her sudden appearance. Who was she? And what did she know about their history? Ethan's heart raced. This was just the beginning, and he could feel the weight of what was yet to come. Ethan's heart pounded as he turned, eyes wide, and everyone else in the room held their breath. It was a silhouette he recognized yet had never met. With frizzy hair and deep-set eyes, the woman stepped forward into the soft amber light, revealing lines etched by time and struggle. It was Clara, the long-lost cousin who had been whispered about but never mentioned directly. "Clara?" Ethan's voice was barely a whisper, but it carried through the room like a gentle breeze, breaking the tension. There was an electric hum of awareness. Everyone felt the significance of her unexpected arrival. "Yes," she replied, her voice softer than Ethan had anticipated, filled with emotion. "I heard about the gathering and I needed you all to know I'm here. I can't let the shadows of our past keep me away anymore." The room shifted, faces exchanged glances filled with confusion, surprise, and looming hope. "Why now?" a voice called out. "You've been missing for years." Clara took a deep breath, squeezing her hands tightly together. "Because I've been running from my truth for so long. The hurt, the wrongs, they've chased me." Her words resonated, drawing the attention of the crowd. They hung on her every syllable, and Ethan felt the atmosphere thrum with possibility. This wasn't just a reunion, this was an opening, a door ajar beckoning them to step inside and confront their shared pain. I lost contact with my family when I felt everything was too much, Clara continued. But it wasn't the distance that hurt me, it was the absence of understanding. I battled my demons alone, thinking it was easier. Each word bore the weight of honesty, dripping with raw vulnerability. Ethan glanced at Esther and June, who stood side by side, their expressions mirrors of confusion and tentative hope. "And now?" June asked, her voice trembling slightly. "Now, I want to face it all. I want to be part of this family, to help carry the hurt and rebuild bridges where we've burned them down," Clara said, looking around the room. "Maybe we've all been hiding, thinking we could manage alone, but that's simply a lie we tell ourselves." The air felt lighter, and murmurs of agreement spread through the room. Ethan's heart felt fuller, hope swelling like a tide. "You're brave," he breathed, admiration rising. "Facing ghosts takes courage." Clara smiled softly, her face a mix of relief and uncertainty. "I'm ready for whatever's next, together." "Together," Esther echoed, her voice steady now. "If we can confront our pasts, we can reshape our futures." "Let us be honest," Ethan added, "let us not wait until pain catches us off guard again. We owe ourselves this moment, this truth." The room buzzed with encouragement and anticipation. Crackling energy swept through them, igniting fragmented stories long tucked away. Cousins stepped forward, sharing past regrets and reconciling unspoken feelings. As Clara stepped back, her eyes gleamed with unshed tears, a shared emotion enveloping the space, an unbroken circle where hearts began to mend. This was not just about healing gaping wounds, this was about fortifying the bonds that tied them. Every voice that rose mingled like warm sunlight breaking through heavy clouds, guiding them towards understanding. "I misjudged so many choices," one cousin confessed. "But nobody ever explained the pain behind my mother's distance." "Same here," another echoed, each admission adding to the foundation of connection they forged anew. Ethan, standing resolutely at the center, felt energized as he gazed at their evolving dynamics. "We can create a family support group, just like we talked about," he suggested, fanning the flames of hope. "A chance to keep checking in, to unearth our truths together." With newfound strength, everyone felt the pulse of exciting possibility in the room. Esther and June exchanged a look of pride, their hearts stitched back together through raw conversation. Each individual rallying around the promise of vulnerability and healing, but at that moment, something crucial flickered in Ethan's mind, a spark of clarity. "This gathering is only the beginning. What we've started here must transcend this room into our lives, into our community," he urged passionately. Nods flowed through the crowd like rippling waves, eager to ride a current of shared growth. As laughter began to replace tension, the air lightened with genuine emotion. Clara's smile was radiant now, warmth reflecting through her eyes as she settled into her place within the family. Esther and June found solace in each other's arms, years melting away in the embrace of love and understanding. It was unstoppable now, the powerful surge of connection brimming with hope. As embarrassment transitioned into pride, they realized the bonds of family could rise from the ashes of the past. They had begun to flourish anew. Laughter filled the room, echoing against the walls like a melodic promise for a brighter future waiting outside. In this moment, Ethan felt something extraordinary shift within him too. He knew he would persistently carry this feeling of unity, love, and resilience forward, forever unifying their hearts. And as the storm outside began to quiet, a new dawn broke within their broken family. Their glimmers of truth embraced, binding them closer than ever before. Ethan smiled, a radiant warmth flooding his heart. "We've weathered the storm, and now, we rise as one. This is just the beginning of our family's healing journey." The crowd erupted in cheers, renewed strength flowing effortlessly through every gaze. "Now, as for you, the story may conclude, but the love waits to wrap around your hearts. You need to subscribe now for more exclusive stories that inspire connection, healing, and hope. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and keep this journey alive. Comment your thoughts and feelings about this inspiring ending. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this transformation. Show the world the power of togetherness.